Well, Polk's annual Labor Day auction is quite a sight to see. This was my first trip to New Paris, Indiana, but Dad, I know you've been going out there for a number of years now altogether.
Yeah, well, this was the fourth or fifth year that we went out there. It's a good place to go. You can see tractors out there that you just don't see around here, and the quality is always just exceptional.
And they know how to organize a sale. They kept things moving right along.
They did. They don't hesitate any, and they run a good, honest auction, and when they say sold, why, it's sold.
We'll look forward to another trip out to New Paris, Indiana, as well as some other tractor auctions and tractor shows in the area. Well, we're glad to welcome a guest to the tractor show today. Bob Smith is from Pickering, Missouri. Bob, you spent more than 50 years working as a tractor mechanic.
Well, yes, I have, yeah.
Talk about your career working for John Deere. When you started, they were well into a two-cylinder tractor, but boy, you saw a big evolution in tractors to this new generation.
Yeah, I was there when the new generation came out.
What was the transition like?
Well, it went over real well. A lot of people liked them old two-cylinders, though. You know, it was hard to change them over a few, but the new generation tractors was really good.
Well, let's talk about those two cylinders to begin with. Pretty easy to work on?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, most everything was pretty easy on them.
How did it compare? They was a lot cheaper to overhaul than the new generation.
Oh, yes. Back in the early days of the two-cylinder, they was really, really cheap. You know, you could put a new block and pistons and everything in them for $50. And
what about the hydraulics on the old two-cylinders? Had a pretty good hydraulic system.
They did. Of course, it wasn't, you know, the early ones, you didn't run a two-way cylinder or anything. It just run the rock shaft.
Right.
But
yeah, it was a big improvement over the two-cylinder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that new hydraulic was really great.
Which you worked on about all of them. Which one of them did you kind of like to work on the best?
Oh, I didn't have no favorite ones, really. Just any of them.
Yeah. They was all pretty much the same.
Yeah, pretty well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you make many field calls today? We know mechanics will go out there in the field.
We made a lot of field calls. Yeah, a lot of it was done out on the farm. And because, you know, it's hard to get them to town. We didn't have the trucks, and a lot of them had steel wheels on them. And so we just went out there and worked on them.
Yeah, the roads weren't the best either.
No, they wasn't.
And you could go out there easier, and they could bring the tractor to town.
Yeah, yeah.
Big advantage had to have been the fact that there's a lot of different dealers out there. Most every community of any size had a dealer.
Almost every town had a dealer.
And I remember the dealership up here had a livestock barn, and there was always horses and sometimes cattle down there, and they'd trade for those.
They would trade everything, corn and cattle and hogs, anything to get a deal made.
When it came time to buy a tractor, what was the typical setup? Was it just the tractor the guys bought, or did they get some equipment with it?
Usually a cultivator and a plow and the tractor.
And what would the price tag run?
It'd run, well, like my dad bought a new one in '38, and I think it was $800 and some that whole outfit cost.
Yeah. They used their old horse disc a lot, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, those have been on steel. They probably didn't go to rubber till after the war.
It was on steel. And he got a permit and got some tires. It was during the war they put tires on that tractor. And they had the wheels cut down and welded rims on and put rubber on it.
Were those old two-cylinders locked out of high gear? The ones that came out on steel, did they have a pin in there to...
On the reverse?
Well, so you wouldn't run so fast on those steel wheels?
Well, no, they had the four-speed transmission. Yeah, they didn't.
I think International might have had a bolt that kept you from putting that in fifth gear.
Put it in fifth, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But when they changed what would have been 1940 and put in the six-speed, if the tractor was ordered on steel, it only had 4 gears.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then the rubber-tired ones had a 6-speed in them.
What about doing the overhaul? How expensive an adventure would that be?
Overhauling the old two-cylinder?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you could rebuild a motor easy in a day, and it would run less than $100, labor and everything.
Completely different deal, huh?
Yeah.
When that new generation came out then, what happened to the two cylinders? Did a lot of guys just park them?
Yeah, they did. You find them in the fence rows and everywhere. Like up Bedford, he traded for the 2-cylinder, and they sat under a hedgerow up there at his house.
They run some specials on trading in a 2-cylinder for the new generation?
Yeah, really, they did.
But that hedgerow tractors are non-existent anymore.
You can't find. I wish we'd have known then.
If you'd only known.
Yeah.
That's right.
Bob, you're not completely retired. You're officially retired from working for a dealership, but you still work on John Deere's.
Well, what I have at home, other than that, I don't work on anything outside.
And I know, Dad, you've tapped into Bob's expertise more than once.
Many times. I expect he wishes we'd lose his phone number, but he's been awful good to us, and his advice is good.
Yeah, that's great that you can call and tell you what I do know.
Well, I tell you, it's been fun when I've been here and that phone call's been made. There's sometimes you can give them directions right over the phone to correct a problem just from what you hear over the phone.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah. Somebody come in with a problem, if you talk to them quite a while, they'll tell you what's wrong with it.
Yeah. We've called him. He goes to Texas in the fall and stays all winter. We'd like to change that and just keep him here. But Bill calls him. He calls and visits with Bob. But most generally he has something to find out about one of these old 2-bangers.
Well, we've had a lot of fun, Bob. We appreciate you stopping by and visiting with us today.
You bet. I'm glad to, and thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob Smith is from Pickering, Missouri. He's our guest today on The Tractor Show.